Hi guys, it's Steph from IDRIVECLASSIC, and today I'm back and we're going way back for today's video. We're going all the way back to 1954, and to put that into perspective for those of you that are in the Commonwealth or in the UK, 1953 was the year that our Queen was had her coronation. So it's way back when, and we're in this amazing Morris Oxford MO, and I cannot wait to take you out in it. There's a lot to show you today, and there's also an unintended mishap, so stay tuned because we're going to take out one of the oldest and most beautiful cars I've ever driven.
Wow, so we're testing today a Morris Oxford MO. So if you've heard the Oxford name before, it's not surprising, because a little bit like when we discussed the Nissan Cherry, the Morris Oxford name wasn't just used on this model and was used on cars all the way from 1913 to 1971. But whilst the Oxford name stayed put, the cars that the name was assigned to changed so greatly throughout the decades. So the name Oxford was chosen by Sir William Morris himself after the university town he grew up in, and later the home of Morris Motors. And for those of you that like a little bit of facts, the factory in Cowley, so the factory that they made Morris Minors in and they made these amazing Morris Oxford MOs, was situated in Cowley, which is just outside Oxford city centre. And in fact, Morris Motors helped bring true industry to the city of dreaming spires. So in 1913, the Oxford name was awarded to the Bullnose Morris, and from then on in the car began to grow in size, quantity and popularity. And in 1923, Morris Motors represented nearly 30% of private British car ownership, which grew in popularity still more so, because by 1925 it had grown to over 40%, which in any company is a fantastic growth. And with sales numbers, the engine grew too, from a paltry 1018cc 9 horsepower to a much more sizable 2.5 litre 20 horsepower car in 1935. Now, the Oxford name was briefly put on hiatus, but swung back into action in 1948 with the introduction of the Morris Oxford MO. And in fact, it was this particular model, which was made all the way from 1948 through to 1954, making this particular model that we're testing today, in fact, one of the last Morris Oxford Series MO before they introduced the Oxford Series 2 in May 1954. So it's one of the very, very last that we're testing today. Now, the Oxford MO we're testing today, her name is Mary, sports her original engine. So we've got all the paperwork so we can look through it. Colin will hopefully tell you a little bit about this as we go on, but it was pretty much a one family car, so it's pretty much original. So her original engine, which is still in today, and we're looking under the bonnet now, is a straight 4 1500 side valve engine. And if you're wondering who designed this car, it is of course the 20th century genius Alec Isagonis, famous not only for the Mini and the Morris Minor, but gorgeous cars like this and the Land Crab and the Maxi. Essentially, he's one of my favourite car designers of all time, so it's hardly surprising that I took an instant shine to this amazing car. Now, there were two options for Morris MO fans, so if you went shopping, you didn't have to just stick with the car that we see in front of us. So you could have either gone for a traveller style, a bit like the Morris Minor Travellers. If you're familiar, the wood pattern is pretty much the same, or you could have gone for a 4-door saloon like the person who first chose this car. Now, both options, whether you went for the traveller or the saloon, were 4-seater, and leather interior was standard, a little bit like your early Morris Minors. Because back in the day, it wasn't a race to the bottom to cut costs like it is nowadays. Driving was a luxury, and owning a car even more so. So manufacturers worked hard to meet the expectations of buyers. And it's mad to think a car like this was launched so long ago. And to put it in perspective for you, this car was launched in 1948, 3 years after the end of World War II, and the year that the National Health Service, the NHS, began. So I feel to say that this car belongs to a forgotten era is to totally downplay how worlds apart this car is from the motoring that we know today. But hopefully this video will do a real justice and you'll be able to see exactly what I mean. So first of all, we're going to take a look inside. I'm going to talk you through the dash to start off. But as you can probably see already from this car, it's a pretty exceptional car, and it's in really good condition too, to say it's so old. So I'm really excited to take you around, show all the details and show you just how incredibly special Mary is. And and hopefully for those of you that want something a little bit older, this might become the car you go for, because honestly I think it's a great option, and if I had my time again I probably would pick the Morris Oxford MO myself.
The Morris Oxford is one of the oldest cars I've ever featured on the channel, and I'm really excited to show you this because I've known this car since, well, I went with Colin to view this car actually. We went, I can't remember where we went, but we went out on a day trip. I'd been to see the Spice Girls the day before, and Colin said, come with me the next day, I'm off to see this mystery car. And we came to see this Oxford, and the minute I got in it, I said to him, I was like, you've got to get it because it is so original. So it's a real privilege to show you guys around inside today and show you what's going on. Now, I'm going to show you the dash because a lot of people just say, oh, it's a bigger Morris Minor, and it's totally not. Honestly, I've driven a Morris Minor. I've been driving Morris Minors for over 10 years, and this is streets ahead of what you get in a Morris Minor. I mean, with a Morris Minor, it's very much like your Minis, where everything's very central here. So you've got your central speedo, and you've got everything running off this. Whereas this is a little bit more reminiscent of your early series where it's just a little bit more classy. So the Morris Minor I'm referring to is obviously a later Morris Minor, whereas your earlier Morris Minors have these beautiful gold dashes a little bit like this. Now I want to show you what's inside the car. So first of all, let's talk about what's in the middle, because the controls on this, and this is 1954, the controls on this are far more substantial than what you get in your Morris Minor, say in your 60s and 70s. And it's incredible because there's so much going on. So first of all, something that I love having in a car, but you never, for some reason, they stopped doing them. And I think, what a pity, are clocks. I mean, how fantastic is it having a clock in an old car, because you don't have them in a Morris Minor. And I remember when I changed over into it, it was the one thing that I really, really missed. So for me, when I saw this, I thought, God, that is absolutely gorgeous. And as well, you've got voltmeter here where you can see whether your battery's charging or not. Again, another fantastic feature to have. You've got your fuel gauge over here, and you've got your oil pressure. Again, it's something that you don't get on your Morris Minor, and I absolutely love it in this. And then obviously you've got your MPG and you've got your mileage and all the rest of it. Now, as you can see, this car has done barely any miles. And I was talking to Colin about this, and I said, are you sure the mileage is genuine? Because that's really low. So it's on 40, it's just on over 46,000. And if you think that this car's from 1954, that means it's done an insanely low mileage. So Colin did a bit of digging through the old MOT certificates, and it had only done, I believe, 800 miles since, it's only done 800 miles since the mid 70s. So it's coming back to life. It's like this car's having its second life. Now let's get back to business, because I'm going to show you this dash and show you some of the bits. So first of all, one of my favourite features, you've got a glove box. You've got the ball motif on there, so we pop that open, and you've got your lovely glove box inside. Now, as I was saying, this car's very original, so I'm going to scoot on in. I'm going to show you this as well. This is just a mirror that somebody's put in, but I believe the guy who had it before had something to do with clock making, watch making, and bizarrely, not only is it a mirror, but it's got a little clock in as well. Again, there's a few bits of paperwork. I've also found something in the glove box I can't wait to show you. Now, let's talk about the car. So, coming back to the dash, coming back to the centre, you've got your wipers over here. So these are the same kind of Bakelite controls that you get in your Morris Minors. You've got your wipers there. Now, if you've never seen wipers like that before, that is called a clap hand wiper. So it's different to your modern wipers per se. Up here, you've got your cigarettes, tray, ashtray. And be very careful not to leave the key on, because you can burn the coil out. Now, when you come to start this car, you'll know that on some of your older cars, you've got your choke, and you pull your choke out to get it to start. But on your even older cars, you need to be pulling out the starter as well. So for us to get it to start, which we're going to do in just a minute, we'll turn the key, we'll pull the choke out, and then we'll pull the starter. And then over here as well, you've got your lights. Now, these are kind of twist and pull. And then you've got some other bits over here. Now, you may have noticed that we are on a bench seat, a little bit like we were in our Zephyr, which means we're back to column change. So I'm going to talk through the column change in a minute. And you've got this on here. Now, you may be wondering what this is. And I got in and I clocked it, and I knew what it was straight away, because I knew that with us being on column change, we had to have the indicators located somewhere. Now, I'm going to pop out the car in just a minute and talk you through, because this car does not have what you you would consider to be a conventional indicator. We're coming on to trafficators, or so what do they call them? Some people call them trafficators, some people call them semaphores. So you'll know them as something very different depending on where you are in the world, but it's exactly the same thing. Essentially, it's some flashy glowy sticks that pop out the side of the car and act as indicators. Now, I've got them on one of my Morris Minors, my 1960 Morris Minor, and I personally wouldn't put my indicators on because, you know, at the moment it's off the road, but even when it was on the road, I just kind of got on with it. You become very accustomed to it. And weirdly, a lot of lorry drivers seem to know what's going on straight away. So when we turn the key, so we can bring it back on, you can probably hear the semaphore trafficator popping out, and on the other side over there. Plus it's great because you can actually hear them popping out and you can hear them working. So over here, so if we come on in, you'll be able to see this. It looks like an umbrella handle. This is actually your handbrake, so you need to be very careful. Now I'm wondering if we can come down into the footwell. So I want to show you something. So we come down into the footwell. This is your heater, and you've got your accelerator brake clutch set up as usual, so accelerator brake clutch. But over here is something a little bit different. So you know when you put your lights on to full beam when you're driving in the dark, that is what you press to switch it on. So just kind of a little bit like that. So yeah, so first of all, we've had a look around the inside, and I'm sure you'll agree it's absolutely gorgeous. Now there's one more thing I want to show you before we talk through what I found in the glove box. Is just over here. So I'm going to flip around. Can you see this over here? It says off and on. Now flip round, we'll show you what's come on. It's actually the interior light. So beautiful bit of kit, and straight away before we've even set off, I know that this car is going to offer a real luxurious driving experience. And for those of you, it's a shame that I wish I could show you what I could kind of transmit the smell of this car over a video for you, but for those of you that know a little bit about equine and horses, the first thing that hits you as you open the door of this car is it smells like a saddle. It's amazing. So let's have a look at what I found in the glove box. Now look what I found in the glove box. It's an AA member's handbook from 1962. So you'll probably have seen at car shows if you go to them regularly, especially in the UK. A lot of people have those yellow badges on the front of the car, but you didn't just get that, you got one of these as well. And you also got a key. So I'm going to have a dig through my purse at some point and show you guys, because I've actually got a key which came with Jill actually. Anyway, back to the book. I thought I'd show you very quickly just what you've got inside, just a little bit about the Automobile Association, or as the AA as we now know it, all your locations of different garages, and then if you break down, it kind of tells you what to do inside, tells you who the emergency services are. But I know that you guys like little things, so you've got inside there, you've got a report from the committee, just tells you a little bit about what's gone on in 1962. But something that I found inside which I quite liked was, let me show you, somebody's directions. So they must have driven, judging by where we're looking, God, they went quite far. They went all the way up to Norfolk, but it's all the different directions, and it tells them how to get there. So truly a time before the world of sat nav, say. Anyway, we've had a look round, so I think it's high time that we had a quick look at the the column change. We had a quick look at the column change, and also I'm going to show you the trafficators, because if trafficator semaphores, depending on what you call them, because if you've not seen them before, they are quite interesting. Right, I've got Joe to help me. Joe, I'm going to get you to put the trafficator on in just a second, but you've just spotted the horn. Press the horn, it's fantastic. I love that. Right, okay, let's put the trafficator on. Go on. So as you can see, it's just essentially, I'm going to come back so I can show that from perspective as well. So as you can see, pop it out again. Yeah, you can get, if you've got these yourself on your car, you can ring places like East Sussex Miners, and they actually do replacement bulbs that flash, which kind of helps people that aren't paying attention on the road see that it's a bit more of a conventional alternative to an indicator. So yeah, there we go. Now we've done that, so let's go and have a look around the rest of the car and get us started up. Now again, just like some of the other cars that I've driven, like the Simca, like the Zephyr, this car, because it's a little bit older, is on column change, which means that instead of the skissed it being all the way down here. We've got it up here, and it's called column change because, well, it's on the column. So if you've watched the Zephyr and the Simca video, and if you haven't, I definitely think you should, because it says 50s cars, it's the same era, and I'm sure you'll love it if you love this. So I'm going to demonstrate the column change for you guys. Colin's done a bit of a lesson with me, so if you see me looking a bit nervous when we're out today, just appreciate that it's so very different, and it's taking me a little bit to get my head around. So foot all the way down on the clutch, you've got it here, you have it all the way towards you. We go up into first, we go down into second, we come back up, this is neutral, we go up into third, we come back down into fourth. Now this may go wrong because this is something I've not really practiced. We're gonna try reverse, so we come back up and you pull it out and you pull it towards you. And again, I can't get it. So Colin's going to have to help me with that, but I know it's something he struggles with as well. So all the people nowadays think that cars are easy peasy. You have no idea. So we've talked through the column change. Let's get the car started up and hear how she sounds. And bear in mind, we've got that amazing side valve engine under the bonnet. And you are going to be shocked at how quiet it is, because I certainly have been. So let's get her started up. Now, it's the part of the video that many of you love most of all. It's where I start the car up. So we've already had the car running a little bit when we were talking to Colin. However, it's time for us to start the car and hear how she sounds. Now, it's a little bit different, as I kind of talked about earlier, in that when we start the car, it's not just on these older cars where it's choke out, turn the key, start it up, and where we go. Today, it's a little bit different, so I won't be pulling out the choke because the car is already warm. However, we have got starter pull on this, so we turn the key. It's a little bit like my Morris Minor, actually, from 1960. Again, just check you're in neutral, handbrake is on. Bear in mind your handbrake's over here. Now you pull the starter, give her a bit of gas. Now just listen to that engine. I'm going to go quiet so you can hear how it sounds. I've heard sewing machines that are louder. This car is exceptional. The build quality, the sound of the engine, just the general finish of it is unbelievable. I've never been in a car like it. I thought the Zephyr was great quality. Well, this has absolutely blown my mind. So I think it's high time we get her out on the road and see what she's like to drive. Guys, I try and do the interview segment a little bit differently every time we do it. So I thought I'd ask Colin the questions while we take this amazing Morris Oxford for a drive, because he's warming up for me. So I thought, right, I'm going to pose all the questions to him now. So Colin, you may remember Colin, in fact, from the Ford Capri video. And in fact, Colin actually sold his Ford Capri to fund this amazing Morris Oxford MO. And it is definitely a brilliant choice. But Colin, why did you do it?
I've just always wanted one, really. Ever since I bought myself my first Minor, and I saw that the Morris Oxford was a kind of basically a supersized Minor.
Yeah.
I just wanted one, really. So when the opportunity arose, it seemed rude not to.
Well, definitely. And how did you find out about this particular car?
It was kind of through a Facebook group. A gentleman was selling it.
Yeah.
It was his grandfather's prior to him having it, and it had been in the same family pretty much since the mid-50s.
Yeah.
He kind of put it on a Facebook group, and then I kind of took the lead from there, really.
Brilliant. And how are you getting on with side valve, trafficators, and things just being a little bit different to the Morris Minor?
Having to think an awful lot.
And how are you getting on with column change?
It's not as bad. The real thing that is throwing me is having a handbrake down on the right hand side down here. I just cannot get used to that. I keep trying to reach for it down there, but the column change isn't that bad. It's quite easy to kind of familiarise yourself with.
Now, we said at the start of the video that this car had around about 800,000 miles put on it since the mid-70s. So Colin, my question to you is, are you going to keep the mileage that low, or are you going to start using it properly?
It's a hard one. I'm going to use it respectfully, I think.
Okay.
The cars are meant to be driven.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep a bit of a log of the mileage that it does and the journeys that it does. But
yeah.
I think she deserves to be used sensitively. So that's what I'm planning on.
Now, I know that you've only had the car on the road this week, and in fact, you got it on the road a little bit earlier than expected so that we could take it out today and do the review, so thank you very much. From your limited driving experience so far in her, would you recommend a Morris Oxford to somebody else?
Absolutely, 100%. It's just a very calm, sedate, really relaxing drive, and you kind of feel like you're driving
really looking forward to my drive. So let's pull over because I'm going to take the steering wheel off you.
And that's a good time to pull over because it's just cooked out.
There's always a first time for a breakdown on a test drive, right? Well, anyway, thank God Colin is here because he's going to fix it, and then we're going to head home, talk about what the problems are, and fingers crossed film the next segment.
Right, so this is totally different to how we usually do reviews. Usually it's straightforward, we go out and all the rest of it. But as I said to you guys, this is the Morris Oxford Emo's first week on the road in, since when?
We think since about 2003.
That's crazy. So, when you take all that into account, it's no wonder that we've had a problem today. So as you saw, Colin was under the bonnet. You saw we cut out when we were doing the interview with Colin. We're now back at home. Fingers crossed, everything's fixed. What have you done, Colin?
Well, I thought it might have been the fuel pump that was playing up.
Yes.
But that seems absolutely fine. It
Yeah.
was actually a blocked fuel breather. So
Yeah.
I've flushed it through with the airline and we're good to go.
Brilliant. Right, let's go do take 2 of the video on this amazing car because honestly, I was gutted when I thought we were going to miss out. So let's head back to the car. Now I wanted to do a bit of driving, so we're going to film it from 2 perspectives today. So you can see what it looks like to sit on the behind me, so you can see my view as I drive this incredible car. Because I imagine for many of you, you've never seen one of these cars before. I'd certainly not until Colin bought it, and I think it's absolutely exceptional. Now, I'm finding the column change a lot easier than I anticipated because, as I've talked about in the Zephyr video, when I took out the Simca, I found it really difficult. But by the time I got to the Zephyr, it was starting to get a bit more familiar for me. Now this today, I thought again, I was like, oh God, I'm going to be back with column change, and I was dreading it. But actually, it's remarkably smooth. It's not as hard as I thought it would be, and it is a beautiful car to drive. So it's quite slow, but you know, look, it's a car from 1954. I wasn't expecting, you know, the turbo jag experience. I wasn't expecting to be zooming along at 80 or 90 miles an hour. It's a nice leisurely Sunday driver car, and it's really built for pleasure rather than speed. Now as you can see, so we're coming up. Now I'm not going to go into first as we come down here. I'm going to go into second, and I'll explain why. So the reason I didn't go into first as we came up to the junction there was that just like the Dear Morris Minor, this gearbox on this, so on your column change, you don't have Synchro on first. You're exactly the same as your Morris Minor, exactly the same as that gorgeous Austin A35 that I took out. So it's easier just to come up and go into second. Now as you can see, as I'm coming up through the box, you can get up to fourth quite quickly. I'm up in fourth already at 40, and it's just such a smooth drive. Now as you will have seen when we looked around the car, we are on cross-ply tyres, which if you can hear a little bit of road noise in the background of the video, that might be why. But do you know what, when I first bought one of my Morris Minors, it was on cross-plies. I didn't quite realise until I hit a wet road one day just how very different that experience would be. But yeah, today, you know, it's December, but it's sunny. It's a beautiful dry day, probably because we're in the south of England and they pretend that it never rains down here. And it's just an exceptional car. It's beautiful to drive. I guess that my only reservation so far is that everybody else on the road is a rude pig and they're trying to hurry me up, and I just want to be here and enjoy the drive. The 2 things that I know everybody's going to ask me about are, number 1, what's the parts availability like? So it's interesting, if I'm honest with you. There are some bits that you can still get. You know, there are parts that are still knocking about. I'd say it's probably comparable with some of your 80s stuff in that there's bits you can still buy, but there's other bits that you're going to have to get recommissioned or try and bodge something else from something else onto. But with this being largely an original car, Colin's in quite an enviable position actually, that he can either get things rebuilt, recommissioned, or try and find workarounds for things that are starting to go wrong, or, you know, he's in a great position because it's not being mucked about with. Now the other question that people always ask is, and I know that it's definitely going to come up, is why am I not wearing a seatbelt? Well, this is actually pre-seatbelts, guys, so it's don't worry, because there's no seatbelt, and if there was, I would definitely have one on. Now, unfortunately, it's coming to the end of the video for me, which I'm really, really sad about. However, it has just started raining, so I get to show you the wipers and their clap hand. So I wanted to show you how effective they are and the speed of them, because actually I'm quite impressed. So Colin's going to pan round for you, show you what the wipers are doing. As you can see, they're pretty good actually. They're no worse than my Morris Minor ones. But again, it is only single speed. Now, it is time for me to wrap up this video, and I am really sad to do so, because this car has been one of my favourite cars to drive, and I'm not going to forget it in a hurry. In fact, I said to Colin, if I ever find some poor unfortunate soul to marry me, I'd actually like to go to my wedding in this, because it is beautiful. There's so much leg room, it's easy to drive. I mean, the only thing that I thought it was going to be the column change that called me out, but it's not the column change at all, it's actually the indicators. And it's been a really special car, and you can see why people used to love their cars so much when you drive something like this. You can see why driving was such an occasion, and you can, I think, see why people formed such an emotional bond with their cars and kept them for so much longer than we do now. Because as you look out onto the road today and you see all those faceless cars on finance, I don't understand how people could form such love for them like you do for cars like this, because driving something like this is so very special, and today has been a true privilege. Now, I'm just going to pull out and say my final goodbyes to you, but I really hope you've enjoyed this video and enjoyed the car as well, because cars like this nowadays seem to be getting forgotten in favour of stuff like from the 80s, especially with people of my age group. So I guess that if you do get a chance, try and drive something like this, but more importantly, try and own one, because they're not that expensive to buy. Something like this in beautiful condition like this will cost you less than £5,000, and it's something that you can enjoy. It's something that gives you true luxury, but without the crippling debt of a finance agreement. Now, it's enough from me, so until next time, take care and drive safely.